How you guys doing today? Thanks again for tuning in. This is Dana. What I want to talk about today is why so many young beginning land investors fail. I think there's a multitude of reasons. I'm just going to touch on a few. I think it's like a lot of business. I think that some people get involved in it, especially in the beginning. I think it's kind of a get-rich-quick scheme idea. Actually, they think that they're going to get involved. It's going to be the next newest thing. They can make a lot of money. Quit their job and life's going to change overnight. That's basically not how the business works, and I've said that in other lessons. If that's what you're thinking, then you're probably in the wrong place. I think so many people just aren't willing to put the time in, do the work that's necessary. I've said it before, it's not rocket science, it's not that hard. I put lessons together that are pretty much in layman's terms. I do that for a reason. I've tried a lot of things years ago, and a lot of people make things complicated, and I think that's kind of the business strategy, that you never really get it. It's just enough to get your money and leave you scratching your head and wondering what I missed. So that's not what I do, but I think so many people, if you're willing to put the time in, like anything, everything that's worthwhile is worth working for. And that's the key to business. In this particular business, land business, is not really that complicated. That's the first one. I just think people aren't willing to put the time in. They've got misconceptions. They're going to get it loaded overnight, be able to quit their job, and life's going to be peachy. If you put the time in and you become a true student of the business, then the potential's unlimited. I've said it over and over again. Another problem I think people have is they really don't want to put the time in to learn the lessons. And what I've structured in the ABCs of land investing is really basic. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to chronologically place these lessons. So it's basically starting you out in baby steps. You start off with learning lesson 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we have 12 or up to 12 or 14 lessons in the ABCs, which will give you a really good understanding of the land investing business. I think some people could take that and run with it and be just fine. That's the second rule of thumb. I think you really need to put your time in, become a student. The lessons aren't that long. I think typically for myself, if I was to take the course, at least the ABCs, I'd probably want to listen to it 2 or 3 times. I may just read the PDF files, and then maybe listen to the audios in the car a couple of times until I got that part of it and moved on to the advanced series. But that's another thing. I think another mistake people make, and they continue to quit because they think it's too time consuming. It's not as easy as I thought. It's pretty easy. It's a lot easier than going to work and punching the clock the rest of your life and not having anything at the end. Another reason I think people do it is because, or actually fail at this business, is because they really don't understand when I talk about just figuring out the value of a deal. And I've said it before, it's a numbers game. It really is. It's all about numbers. If you're doing mass mailing, blind mailing, mailing from a tax delinquent list, you can't get all the deals, and you got to know how to say no as well as to know when there's a deal that you can make a deal. A lot of guys get involved, guys and girls, and they're just so excited. They get the callbacks, and they're dealing with a potential seller, and they're just anxious and want to pull the trigger and end up buying something that they really don't know the true value of the deal. And like I've said before, if you don't have a good exit strategy and you can't move the property because you paid a premium, then you're starting out on a bad foot, and it's going to go bad on you quick, and then you're going to get discouraged and want to quit. If you worked hard for your money, you're investing money in the land business, and you don't do it right, it becomes very discouraging quick when you got money on the street and you can't get your property sold, and now you can't do anything. So I think that's another one. I wrote down a couple more just so I didn't forget. Let me see what we got here. That were just really important ones. This one here. Not getting creative. You want to stay creative, and I can't preach that enough. I mean, in the land business, I've learned the biggest value I bring to the table. One of the biggest values is being able to think outside the box. And when I say that, it's not always cookie cutter when you're dealing with potential sellers or even potential buyers. You got to get creative, and some of the best investors, land investors, rental property investors, single-family home investors, they're really good at it because there's more than one answer to solve a problem. There's more than one solution is what I'm trying to say. And when it comes to land, You really got to be creative, and that comes with practice. I mean, and once again, once you get your feet wet, you learn, and you can't expect when you start out and you get out of the gate, you've taken some lessons, that everyone's going to be a home run, and they're not. I mean, I think everyone that if you spend 1,000, you put 1,000 in, and you get 2,000 back at the end of the day, and you doubled your money, that's a home run to me. I think some people have false impressions that they're going to, put 1,000 out or 500 out and they're going to make 50 grand. Well, those cases happen. I could tell you some stories, and I will in the future, of deals. I've bought property and 15,000, sold them less than a year later for 115 a piece. So it's all possible, but patience is the key, like any business. And another failure I think people have, especially in the beginning, is they're never ready to pull the trigger. And anybody that knows me and is close to me has heard me use that term many times. Pull the trigger, pull the damn trigger, pull the trigger. I'm kind of a type of personality that a lot of times I'll jump in and learn as I go. And it's worked well for me. At least I'm not standing on the sidelines being afraid to get in the game. Sometimes a little more costly than I anticipated. And I know that going in generally because I don't want to stand there and wait. I'm not going to overanalyze anything. If I get passionate about it, I'm excited, and I feel like I'm getting my hands around an idea, especially this land business years ago, I dove in. And it was rocky for a little bit. It was an expensive lesson, but I made it through it, and I didn't quit. And that's the key. When you commit to something, stick with it. Stick with it till you succeed. Don't be one of those people, you get in this week, and this is the newest game in town, you're in, you take some lessons, you come and join our course, you join one of these other wonderful courses out there, and you get involved, and you're all passionate about it for a month, 2 months, and then you're done, you move on to the next thing. That's not how successful people work. You got to put your nose to the grindstone, learn everything there is to know about it. Like I tell people in the lessons, you want to be a student forever. I mean, in any successful person, you're always asking questions, always learning. Even if you have a mentorship going into it for a little bit, you get around people that really know the business and ask them questions. I've always been one to ask questions, and I think it's key. If you look back in school, the ones that probably succeeded and maybe got, most likely to succeed, went on to greater schools, had a good education, the ones that in class, they were constantly asking questions. And I think that's important. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Speak up, because I'm sure there's times you're probably not totally understanding something, and that's why the audios will be really a good feature, and the PDF files, because you can play it back and go back to that lesson, or something you missed, or I didn't speak clearly enough and you weren't sure about that. It's real important. Don't be afraid to go back and play it again until it's second nature. I always tell my kids, once you've heard it enough times, it'll become second nature, and it becomes a lot easier. So basically, those are a lot of the things that really turn to failure when you're starting out land investing. And it's like any other thing. You got to stick with it. You got to persevere. Don't be afraid to get your feet wet. Start with small deals. Like I said, it's a numbers game. Another thing that's I think is real important is people they want to automate right away. And I think automation is really good in most businesses. You can scale it up eventually by implementing a lot of automation. But I said in an earlier lesson, I think the one-on-one, the personal part of it is key. And even if you're not a real personal person and you feel your personality lacks a little bit, that's not a problem. It's practice. It's like anything. Just practice, you'll get better. And when you're on a phone call with somebody, you try to be as real as you can. My belief is be sincere and honest as you can. And don't mislead people. And they'll appreciate your honesty. And a lot of times they'll sell your property. Whereas in the beginning of the conversation, first of all, they're a little reluctant. They're a little suspicious. Who are you? How'd you get a hold of me? How'd you know I had property? Be honest with them. How you found the property? Who you are? What your intentions are? You're an investor. You try to buy property at a discount price or a wholesale price, and you need to do that because that's the business you're in. Then you turn around and sell at a discount price or just under retail. So believe me when I tell you, I mentioned it earlier in the lesson that it goes a long ways. People appreciate that. So if you're going to get involved, which I'd love to see everybody get involved in any of these courses online or on YouTube or wherever they may be that you find, whether it's land investing, you're investing in flipping homes, you invest in some of the other courses to create a business or sell information, whatever it may be, my advice is stick with it. Stick with it until you at least decide whether you just don't like the business, but don't let short-term excitement and the thought that getting rich quick isn't happening quick enough and you're out. Because there's a lot of people in this business that have made tons of money. I've made millions of dollars. I really have. And it just took perseverance. I mean, I'm gonna tell some stories real quick here in one of these future lessons about probably a handful of big mistakes I made that were really super costly. And I think most people probably would have walked away and said, this is not for me. But I stuck with it, got through it, and I'm here right now to teach you guys some of my mistakes and save you from a lot of that anguish and trouble and putting you in a position you may want to quit. So I do all this because I want everybody to succeed. I truly do. So when I say that, it just takes perseverance, and not everybody's going to get it. Not everybody's going to get involved. A lot of people can listen to this stuff. They're curious. You can move on to the next game. That's fine. That's all well and good. But if your intentions are to get involved in the land business, what I just mentioned is key. And remember, it's a numbers game. And it's a one-on-one game. It really is. I truly believe that. Don't try to get real crafty and get into automation right away and limit all the effort on your part. Because you got anybody that has a good business, you got to be involved. You got like a restaurant owner. If you're an absent restaurant owner, the business is not going to succeed. It just isn't. People are going to steal from you. The customers will see it. The kitchen will slack. It's just inevitable. So like any business, be involved. Get excited about it. Find the why in it. Why am I doing this? Turn it into a passion if you can. And if you do that, you'll do wonderful. You'll have a great part-time business or full-time business or something. You can just acquire land as you want it for building or for the kids. Hunting camp, like I've said in the past, there's a multitude of reasons. But whatever you do in life, try to be as good as you can. Try to be the best at it. And this is one of those businesses, like I said, it's not rocket science. It's not that difficult. It just takes perseverance, fortitude, and don't bounce around. I mean, stick with it a while. It's not going to take you that long. I think if you went through the ABCs, the intermediate course, and then the Master Series course with us, you might be able to get through that whole thing in probably less than a month part-time. And most of the investors I know, myself included, I don't do this full-time. I have a business. But I think last year I probably did an extra, I want to say 50, 60 grand I netted just dabbling with it because I had my other business and I hadn't done full-time investing for a while. I tried to get my ex-girlfriend involved and she just didn't see it. So for me, I like doing things with partners. And so once she was done, I just kind of went back to my regular business for a little bit, and then I discovered what my real passion was. It's actually teaching. And I have a ton of tools in my box. I mean, I've done really well with it. I've made lots of money, and I can do it anytime I want. Matter of fact, I sent out some mailers recently, and I'm going to start getting to it more of not a full-time pace, but probably intermediate pace, and try to generate some serious money going forward again. I'm watching the market, obviously. One of those important factors in the business, and I've taught it before, is understanding the 4 phases of the real estate cycle. It's real important. But some people get discouraged if they hear recession, we're going to go into a crash. In a sense, that's actually, if you're a smart investor and you've learned the 4 phases, which we teach in the ABCs, you get excited about that because you know you can position yourself, put some funds aside, and it's like taking candy from a baby. I mean, I don't know if that's the best expression to use, but the pickings are easy when the market's down because everybody, the consumer confidence is at the bottom, and you can really pick and choose what you want, and you can make the best deals in the world. I mean, people are just giving properties away. So I don't wish that. I don't wish that on our future, but it's inevitable. Eventually it'll happen. I don't think it's going to happen for a few years. But let me get back to the point is if you want to be an investor and you don't want to fail and burn out early, do like I said, don't quit, persevere. It's not that hard. Just put your nose to the grindstone, do the lessons, wherever it may be with us or anybody else. Don't be afraid to fail because there's no failure in trying. Failure is not trying. So, and every deal is not a home run. And if you do it right and you learn the lessons, I think out of the gate, your first deal, you make some money. And once you make some money, your confidence is boosted, and then you continue to refine it. And also in these lessons, we teach a lot of lessons, and most of these programs guys teach, there's 1 or 2 formulas that they use to get their motivated sellers to find a buyer for the property they're selling. But when I refer to being creative, it's super important also. The more creative you are, the more options you'll see. And I probably have 4 or 5 different strategies I can apply at any time in this business. If something doesn't work, I can go to something else. If I'm in a situation, the price going down, I'm pretty confident I can move property and make my money. So that's the lesson for the day. I thank you guys for tuning in. I know you guys, time's important, so I want to keep it short. But if you liked it, hit the like button. If you want to share, share. If you're not a subscriber, you'd like to subscribe, please do, because I'm gonna constantly be adding more content, good videos, good audios. I really like doing this and teaching, but it's hard to teach if nobody participates. So if you have comments, please submit them. I mean, I really appreciate the comments. I'd like to get more interaction going on with the viewers. So thanks again. Have a great day. Be safe out there. Be kind. Be generous. Be supportive. Try to inspire somebody if you can today. And thanks again for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon. I'm out. Bye-bye.